Audio Jungle.
Hi everyone. So today we are going to talk about content delivery network, also known as CDN. So CDN is actually a group of servers which is located and distributed all across the world. The primary purpose of CDN is to bring the web content as fast as possible to the end users. Now, because why do we need CDN, right? So one of the primary problem with the website is the loading time. If the website takes too long to load, obviously your users are not going to like your website, right? So the optimized load time for any website is 3 seconds. If the website is not loading within the 3 seconds, it's obvious that the users are going to jump off to another website. So it is always important to build the website which has a very good load time. And also, if you notice, the load time of the website has a huge impact on the search engine optimization as well. So the more faster that your website loads, the higher the ranking in the search engine, and more frequently your website would appear in the search results. So it is always important to have a website with good loading performance, right? So let's see how the CDN actually helps in achieving the good loading time. So because this is the one of the primary advantage that CDN offers to the websites. Now imagine you have a web server that is located in the US region. So your web server is actually located in the US region, and assume that the web server is actually hosting the website called 123.com. Now this is your web server located in US region, and your website might have customers all across the world. Your website might have some customers in the US, and there must be some customers in India, and maybe some customers in Australia and other parts of the world, right? Now, when a user from the US actually tries to visit the website 123.com, the website loading time would be much faster. The website loads much faster to the users because the user is actually located in the same region as the web server. But at the same time, if the user from the India tries to reach the website 123.com, the website load time would be different. Maybe the website will take much longer time to load. So the users will have a different kind of a user experience. And the similar will happen if the user from Australia or the different part of the world tries to access the website. So this will give a very inconsistent user experience to all the users across the world. So the users who are located near to their web server might have a very good user experience, but at the same time, the users who are located in other parts of the world might get a very poor user experience. Now, how do we solve this problem? So this is where CDN comes into picture. So with CDN, today many cloud providers actually provide this cloud delivery network service, which means the cloud providers actually have multiple edge locations across the world. Like they might have some couple of edge locations in the US, and they might have few edge locations in India and few edge locations in other parts of the world. So when I say edge location, these edge locations are nothing but actually a web server which has the capability to cache your web content for a certain period of time. So when you configure the content delivery network for your website, you actually configure it in such a way that your website content would be cached in the edge locations for a certain period of time. So when the user from India actually tries to visit the website 123.com, the request will first go to the edge location and check if the cached content for the website is available in this edge location. If it is available, then the content will be immediately returned to the user. So now the website loading time would be much better because the content is actually served from the nearest edge location instead of it is served from the origin server. Now, in case if the cached content is not available in the edge location, then the request will go to the origin server and fetch the content, and it gives to the user, and it also caches the content to the edge location. So this gives a much faster website loading time, and it also gives a consistent user experience to all the users across the world. Because no matter where your users actually located in the world, they will get a very consistent user experience. They will get the same load time as the user who located in the same region as the web server. So now the users from all over the world gets a consistent user experience because the content is actually served from the edge location and not from the origin server. So this gives a much better performance to your website, and this could actually improve the SEO as well. Now, when you do the content delivery network, you need to think about the fact that the moral of the story is that the content is actually served from the edge location. That's improving the load time. So each cloud provider might have a different number of edge locations, so the capacity and the efficiency of each location might be different from cloud provider to cloud provider. But the moral of the story is same. The content will be served from the edge location instead of serving from the origin server. That improves the load time of the websites. Now, when you implement content delivery network to your websites, you need to think about and you need to consider one more aspect, which is when you will invalidate the cache in all the edge locations. Because at some point of the time, the content in your website actually gets updated, right? Maybe every 3 months or every 6 months, you have to refresh the content of your website. But in case if the edge location keeps serving the cached content, your users will always look at the old data, old content, and not the new latest content, right? So you need to think about the strategy or the approach on when to invalidate the cache in all the edge locations. That's one of the important things that we have to consider when we implement the CDN. Now, there are two approaches to do that. One is you can actually configure a cache TTL in the edge location, which is you can configure the cache in such a way that the cached content in the edge locations will live only for either 1 day or 3 day or 5 days, something like that. So after the TTL gets expired, your request will always go to origin server and fetch the latest content to the users, and also it will cache the content in the edge location. So for every 5 days or 3 days, it will reach the web server and get the latest content, so that the users will always see the latest content, which is one of the approach. And the other approach is you can manually invalidate the edge locations. You can manually invalidate the cache in the edge locations only when the content in the web server actually gets updated. So that's another approach. And if you see, the later approach is much efficient because you will only invalidate the cache when the content gets updated, and only the request will go to the origin server in case of any content gets changed in the web server. But in case of the previous approach, no matter whether the content gets updated or not updated in your web server, but for every 3 days or 5 days, the request will go to the origin server. So you can choose which approach is best based on your website requirements or based on how frequently your website content will get updated. So you can choose the approach. And another important advantage that we will get out of the CDN is protection from DDoS attack. So in one of the other video, I actually talked about the DDoS in very detail. So this is nothing but distributed denial of service attack, which actually send the bulk of requests to your web server and bring the web server down. So if you haven't looked into that video, I would highly recommend you to watch the DDoS video before this one. So how does the CDN actually helps you from this DDoS attack? Because if a group of attackers try to send a bulk of requests to a web server, imagine if there is no CDN, if there is no edge locations configured, then all the requests will directly go to your web server. So all the requests will directly go to your web server and it will consume all the resources and then it will bring the web server down. But if you configure CDN and if you have all your content cached in all the edge locations, these bulk of requests will go only to the edge locations. And the CDN, because the cached content will be served to the end users, even for the attackers. So all the attack will go only to the edge locations and your web server will be protected from the DDoS attack. So none of the requests will reach your web server. So the resources will not be exhausted. So your web server is safe. So that's another advantage with CDN. It protects you from the DDoS attacks. And another important advantage is it actually reduces the downtime of your website. So for some reasons, like if you're doing some kind of a maintenance activities, or if there is an issue in the web server, or if there's a crash, and then if your web server actually goes down, and if it is not available for a certain period of time, in case if you configure CDN, your end users will not feel the downtime. Because even if your web server is down, and then if your user is trying to access the website 123.com, the content will actually deliver from the edge location. So in that case, the users will always can read the content of your website. They always feel that the website is up. So maybe not for a very long time. It actually depends on the cache TTL. Maybe after 3 to 5 days, it will try to reach the web server. But you will get enough time to fix your web server and bring it up. So meanwhile, when you are doing a maintenance activity or when you are fixing your web server, your users will not face any downtime because they will always get the content from the edge location. So that's one of the advantage of the CDN. So in this video, we actually talked about content delivery network and how CDN actually helps to improve the load time, and we also saw how it helps in saving from DDoS and reducing the downtime. I hope this video is actually useful to you. Thanks a lot for watching.
Audio Jungle.